Welcome to the Pro.Per Podcast, the podcast dedicated to helping you reach your professional and personal goals the proper way.
Man, hello, welcome. I just want to first take a second and say thank you for tuning in. This is the very first episode of the Pro.Per Podcast. And man, it feels like it's taken a long time to get here, mostly because I'm just a horrible procrastinator. And so I figured what better way to start the podcast and release this first episode by addressing how I was able to really stop procrastinating and start working on what I've wanted to do for so long. Now, as much as we hate to admit it, procrastination happens. It happens to all of us in various aspects of our life, right? Whatever goal we have, I need to lose weight, get a better job, do better in school, whatever it is, we always have these conflicting priorities, right? And honestly, the conflict is more between starting something I want to do and doing what I've always done, just sitting on the couch or, being part of the normal schedule that I have without making any changes in my life, right? And that's a problem. But I got here, right? So I work a 9 to 5. I love my job. I have no desire to leave it. I think some of you need to reevaluate, chasing a dream and trying to quit your 9 to 5. We're going to talk a lot about that during the podcast. But right now, I'm just really excited to be here. And I hope this podcast runs hundreds of episodes long, right? So how did I get here? Let's stop delaying. 2 things that I did to really mentally help me get started was addressing friction and preparing for failure. I'm giving it to you right up front because I don't want you to wait 30 minutes to hear this. By the way, I think this podcast is only going to be 10 minutes apiece for now until, people say they want more. But for now, just about 10 minutes. So first, let's get into it. Addressing the friction. What does that mean? Friction in your life is basically, it's a physics term, it's a math term, that is a force opposing you, another force going in a direction, right? I'm an engineer. That's obviously not the really technical definition, but we all experience it in our lives. And so what you need to do is address the friction that's causing you to stop working on what you want to, right? And so you need to do a couple of things. You need to increase the friction for the things you don't want to do and decrease the friction for the things you do want to do. So let's take TV for an example, right? TV may be the default way that you can really waste your time, right? You sit on Netflix and you binge for hours, right? That's a problem. Increasing frictions for something like that would be, why don't you take a lock or a box or chest or something and lock your remote away under 2 locks, right? A combination lock and some math puzzle lock. I've seen a couple things like that before. But lock your remote away, right? Now it's not as easy as I need to just sit on the couch, grab the TV from the desk, and turn on the television. Now you have to go to that location, open 2 locks, and then get in there, right? And then what if you do? Another example is you can really log yourself out of Netflix every time you want to watch it or every time you finish watching it and set a really obnoxious password. And I think one of the banes of my existence is trying to type my password on my TV remote control. I honestly hate it. And so that's another way to increase the friction for something like watching TV. And you can do that with anything, right? So if you feel that you're always going to foods that are not good for you, maybe a good way to do that is to always have a buddy with you when you're shopping who's going to challenge you on the things you shop with, right? So increase the friction for the things you don't want to do and decrease the friction for the things you do want to do. So for example, when I started this podcast, it took me about 2 weeks to really sit down and start working on it. And the reason is because I basically made small adjustments one at a time. And so what this kind of coached in me was the idea of little wins, right? So basically I have a mixer, I have a mic, I have my computer, and all of that stuff was packed away. And so what I did a day at a time or every couple of days was I made one small step forward into basically creating a nice workflow that I can sit at my desk, pull my mic over, and start recording. Now it just takes 2 steps for me to start recording, right? Whereas it probably took me 10 before, I've reduced that to 2. Turn on my mixer, pull my mic over, and I'm ready. And so that is how you basically reduce the friction for the things that you want to do. And I really like to kind of get that momentum going of when you're just setting yourself a goal of do one really small thing to set yourself up for the next day. That really helps you get momentum and saying, all right, I'm here and I've made a small change. Now it's easy to make another small change, right? It doesn't feel like you're committing hours to something. In fact, most of your life could probably go unchanged just by employing this principle of little wins, right? Or decreasing the friction one at a time. Now, the next thing that you could really look for is preparing for short-term failure, right? So those are the 2 things: address friction and prepare for failure. And what I would say is the caveat is prepare for short-term failure. Obviously, I don't want you to think I'm going to go into this and I'm going to fail long-term, right? It's not going to work out. What you should be doing, though, is preparing for short-term failure. And the reason is because you want to delay instant gratification. I think we're in a culture where, we try something, or we, get on social media, we post a picture, and we get this instant gratification. We hear about it all the time and how it's a problem, right? That we now put something out there or, want something and we expect to get that return immediately. And honestly, I see this in myself as well, right? I put money in the stock market and I'm like, how come I haven't seen 20% returns today? What's going on, right? And that's it's foolish thinking, but it is this poison of instant gratification. And what I want you to do is basically get away from that, right? You don't want to be instantly gratified. So I'll give you a story. I was kicking this idea of starting a YouTube channel or a podcast or something for a long time, right? I've had this LLC, Pro.Per Consulting LLC, for about 2 years. And I tried a little bit of various things. And what I inevitably saw is that as I started something, if I didn't get the results, I'd get discouraged and I'd say, screw it, I'm not going to pursue this anymore. And so that is probably one of the key ways that you stop putting time and effort into something, right? Like you procrastinate further because you realize I'm not getting the instant result I want. And so I don't feel like I should go and put myself out there. So I started a YouTube channel and I uploaded like 3 videos and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get like 100 views at least on these videos. And I got 0, just nothing. And I was kind of shocked, right? And now after 6 months, I think I've got like 20 views. And so you think about that. I came in with the expectation of I'm going to post this and I'm going to get at least 100 views. There has to be 100 people that click on this that are interested in it, right? And so when I did not get that, I was, to be honest, highly discouraged. And I thought to myself, man, what am I doing wrong? And instead of trying to press in and saying, all right, I'm going to commit to this, I said, you know what? I'm going to pivot. And what I realized is that's a really bad mentality, because like everything in this world, you need to put in time and effort to hone your skill, to get better. And then people will say, all right, that's good. I want to go watch it, listen to it, experience it, right? It is foolish thinking to say, I'm going to post this, become an instant success overnight, right? I don't think there's any examples in history or anywhere where there's a long-term success that happens within a week or 2 weeks, right? It is years of unseen and unpraised work to get them to a point where they're an overnight success, right? You've probably heard that saying before. So here's what you should do, right? What you need to do is define your short-term success failure, right? The insanity of something is obviously doing something the same over again and expecting the same result. However, when it comes to working at a skill, you have to say, I need to do this and fail over and over and over again until I see the result I want. So what does that look like for me right now with the Pro.Per Podcast? What I said is, if I commit myself to this for a year, I need to do 1 year of repetitive, consistent effort. And that's key, right? Because a year can pass and I can just continue to procrastinate and not do anything. And I'll say, oh, I didn't get the results I wanted. But no, a year of repetitive, consistent effort. Will I see change? And if after that year of work, I don't see a change, at that point, I need to start to tweak my process, right? I don't want to make a complete pivot, but I want to say, all right, something I'm doing is not working. Because obviously I'm in here doing this podcast, one, because I enjoy it. I think I have the skill to do it, but also because I want to start a business and make some side money, right? That is enjoyable for me. I want to be able to build something. Instead, I had no support and essentially no, angel investors, whatever it is. And I kind of did this and had the vision and made it work, right? And so if it doesn't work after a year, I need to be able to make some tweaks and slightly pivot. But what I think this year does for you is it allows you to, one, hone your process, and two, reveal, do you actually enjoy what you're doing? I think we sometimes get in this fog or this delusion, for a better word, of I need to pursue and chase this dream and do anything I can. And consistently, we're just bouncing from idea to idea or from thing to thing, diet to diet, whatever it is, saying I'm just gonna do this because I really love it. And then we find out after 2 weeks, not that enjoyable, right? But we all go through that. Every passion, immediate passion we have, we go through that lull, right? That valley of, I was so energetic and high on this idea. It's not as exciting as I thought it was, and you hit the valley. But what you need to do is really push past that and see, okay, when I've hit my workflow and I've started to make, progress or started to put out stuff, do I actually enjoy what I'm doing? Do I really hate my 9-to-5 that much that I want to quit it and, start my own business? Because starting your own business is extremely stressful. You have to think about it 24/7. You trade in your 9-to-5 for a 24/7. That's basically what happens. But it'll give you that opportunity to say, all right, I've got a year. Did I do anything with it? Do I like what I'm doing? And if not, it gives you a chance to bail and say, all right, it's not what I thought it was. I don't really want to get into it. And what I would say is that when you have that idea again to go into it or start working on this, you're going to be able to say, I need to either approach it differently or I need to not do it at all. And so to be honest, this is my year. This is where I'm starting. And what I want to be completely transparent about is I'm going to probably suck for the first 10 or 20 episodes, right? My skills are not going to be that great. I'm going to feel awkward on the mic. My dynamic range may be not that great when I'm speaking, maybe sound a little monotone. I'm fully aware of that. And you know what? I'm okay with that. And so what I'm telling myself is, you know what? For the first year, if I don't see thousands upon thousands of views, that's okay. I want to get to hundreds. Set myself a lower bar, but commit to just pushing forward and doing it. And if my first 20 episodes don't get any views, that's okay. I'm not going to bail on it. I need to commit. And I think that's really powerful for me because I just remove the pressure off myself to say I need to be awesome on day one. And to you, my audience, whoever's listening, I'm not going to be awesome on day one. And you know what? Give me that feedback. Tell me, hey, this is where you can improve. You're stuttering too much on the mic or you kind of ramble a little bit. It's probably true. I do ramble a little bit. But really giving myself that freedom to say, it's okay to suck for 20 episodes just really relieves the pressure off of me and allows me to keep coming back here and uploading and working on it and pushing forward. And I think that's a big thing we all need to do is really just remove the pressure off of ourselves to just be awesome on day one. You need to work at what you want to be good at. So there it is, the two things: address the friction and prepare for failure. And with that, thanks for listening. I hope that you'll go out there and chase your dreams. Until next time, stay proper.